From the moment Karen marched up my driveway with a clipboard, a fake smile, and 3 HOA members trailing behind her, I knew she wasn't here to borrow sugar. She was here to take something. "We've decided your land is perfect for the new community park," she said, as if announcing the weather. My land, my property, my 40-acre stretch of quiet woodland I'd spent 10 years restoring. And just like that, she declared it hers. But what Karen didn't know was this. I'd been preparing for someone like her my entire life. It all started 2 weeks earlier, when I noticed spray-painted lines creeping along my fence line. At first I thought it was kids messing around, until I found a laminated HOA document pinned to a post. Preliminary Development Planning. Zone. Community Green Project. Except there was one problem. My ranch was 4 miles outside HOA jurisdiction. Karen was the newly elected HOA president, and apparently the power got to her head. She'd convinced the board my land was unused space that should be repurposed for community value. I confronted Karen the next morning, expecting this to be a misunderstanding. But Karen never misunderstands. She imposes. She waved a stack of papers at me, claiming they had implied easement rights. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. Implied easement doesn't magically give anyone permission to bulldoze someone's land. But she wasn't bluffing. Behind her smug confidence were contractors scheduled to break ground within days. That's when I lawyered up. Not just any lawyer, Wilson Grant, an old friend who knew property law like Karen knew entitlement. After reviewing every document, he grinned. They violated 3 county codes and filed development plans on land they don't own. If they push this, they're done. But I didn't just want them stopped. I wanted them to learn, to feel the consequences. So Wilson suggested something wild. Something that turned this entire war on its head. If the HOA claimed my land as part of their community, then legally, their community could become part of mine. It was a loophole they accidentally opened themselves. What Karen didn't realize was that every attempt she made to force my land into her control actually strengthened my case. Each unauthorized marker, each contractor appointment, each notice left on my gate became documented evidence. Evidence that would soon turn her picture-perfect neighborhood into something she never saw coming, a park of my own design. And trust me, it wouldn't include a single bench she approved. Karen didn't take the cease and desist letter well. The moment she read it, she stormed onto my porch like she owned the hinges. "You're obstructing community progress," she barked, waving the letter like it was a personal insult rather than a legal warning. Behind her stood 2 HOA board members who looked like they regretted volunteering. I calmly pointed her toward the county map showing, in bold red lines, that her HOA ended far from my land. She didn't care. Karen never cares about facts, only control. The next morning, construction vehicles appeared at the end of my road. Not on my property, but close enough to send a message. Karen stood proudly beside them, arms crossed, sunglasses on, acting like a general commanding troops. I filmed everything. Every arrival, every unauthorized stake hammered into the soil. Every moment she tried to intimidate me. Wilson, my lawyer, watched the footage with interest. "Good," he said. "Let her keep digging her own grave, figuratively, of course." But Karen escalated. She began door-to-door campaigning through her neighborhood, spreading rumors that I was blocking community development and hoarding land. She even held a meeting, where she claimed she had preliminary approval from the county. She didn't. What she did have was a crowd of annoyed homeowners, tired of her theatrics but too polite to challenge her. That politeness evaporated when the county inspector arrived unannounced. The inspector toured the area for hours. When he finished, he called a stop work order on everything Karen initiated. That alone should have ended her crusade, but Karen simply pivoted. She filed a complaint accusing me of illegally altering protected woodland. It was laughable, but officially filed complaints trigger investigations. Wilson and I prepared documents, photos, timestamps, and drone footage proving every inch of my property was untouched. Then came the twist. During the investigation, the county discovered the HOA's development. Plans listed my land as annexed, community territory, a blatant falsehood. That single lie opened the door to a legal mechanism. Wilson had hinted at a boundary review. If the HOA claimed my land counted as theirs, we could petition to incorporate their land into a shared district, a district I would legally control. As the paperwork advanced, Karen escalated again, handing out flyers claiming I planned to take over the neighborhood. Ironically, her actions made that outcome likelier. Every lie she circulated strengthened my petition. Some homeowners approached me quietly, asking what was actually happening. For the first time, Karen sensed control slipping. It was unfolding fast. Karen's panic became obvious the moment she realized homeowners were starting to question her. For the first time, her voice wasn't the loudest in the room. At the next HOA meeting, one I attended legally as an affected landowner. Karen tried to regain control by spinning an elaborate story about how the community deserved the park my land would provide. She spoke with dramatic hand gestures, painting herself as some kind of visionary leader. But when residents asked why she'd labeled private property as HOA land without permission, she stumbled. That stumble was the beginning of her downfall. Wilson stood beside me as we presented a simple timeline: false filings, unauthorized zoning requests, development plans drawn over my property lines, and community resources spent on land the HOA did not own. Karen tried interrupting, but every interruption made her look more guilty. The board exchanged glances. A few homeowners even muttered under their breath, clearly tired of the chaos. The next day, things escalated further. Karen plastered the neighborhood with new flyers, claiming that I was sabotaging their community future. The irony? Her flyers became evidence of targeted harassment. Wilson photographed everyone. By then, the county's boundary review process was moving faster than expected. The false annexation attempt triggered an automatic evaluation of HOA borders. And because Karen insisted, my land was part of the community, the county requested a full review of what the HOA actually owned and didn't own. That's when the legal loophole opened completely. Wilson explained it to me over coffee. If an HOA wrongly expands boundaries through falsified documents, the affected landowner can request district realignment. That meant I could submit a counter-proposal incorporating HOA common areas, greenbelts, playgrounds, community paths, into a neutral district overseen by a landowners committee, a committee I qualified to lead. In other words, Karen tried to turn my land into a park, so legally I could turn her land into one instead. We filed the proposal the same afternoon. 2 days later, county officials began surveying the HOA's green spaces. Karen followed them around, demanding explanations, insisting she'd done nothing wrong. But the officials weren't listening anymore. They were looking at violations, unpermitted structures, boundary discrepancies, and misleading paperwork. One inspector told her calmly, "Ma'am, this situation was triggered by your improper filings." Karen looked like she'd been slapped. Homeowners started approaching me privately. Some apologized. Some begged me not to take their homes. I reassured them. I wasn't taking anything, just ensuring legal boundaries were respected. But Karen didn't see it that way. She saw her power disappearing, her board influence crumbling, her entire identity slipping away. And she wasn't going down quietly. Karen's breaking point came the morning the county posted the official notice: boundary realignment pending community review. In simple terms, her HOA's green areas, walking paths, and undeveloped strips were now under consideration to be reclassified as part of a public access district, one that I, as the primary petitioner, would oversee. Karen tore the notice off the community signboard so aggressively the screws came out with it. Homeowners watched in stunned silence as she ranted about outsiders and land thieves, completely oblivious to the fact that she had started this entire war. Wilson and I attended the county hearing that followed. Karen showed up with an overstuffed binder full of evidence, mostly her handwritten notes, flyers, and printouts of emails she had sent herself. The hearing officer flipped through them for all of 15 seconds before setting them aside. Meanwhile, our presentation included legal filings, drone footage, surveys, timestamps, video evidence of unauthorized development attempts, and a timeline of every false document linked to Karen's actions. The contrast was embarrassing for her. When the hearing officer announced the decision, the room went dead silent. The HOA's green spaces and undeveloped zones would be officially reclassified into a shared district, designated as a community park area, and I would manage the district for the next 10 years. Karen's jaw dropped so far it nearly hit the table. But here's the part that truly unraveled her. The decision did not affect anyone's homes, only the communal land. The place where she once stood proudly, declaring her authority, was now legally under my management. Karen tried arguing that the HOA needed those spaces. The officer calmly reminded her that filing false annexation claims forfeits authority over disputed territory. She had essentially handed me control with her own paperwork. Within a week, the county placed new signs around the neighborhood. Community Nature Reserve Management, Landowner District 14. My name sat directly under it. I didn't tear anything down or destroy anything. Instead, I transformed the unused HOA green spaces into exactly what Karen wanted to build on my land: a park, benches, walking paths, a small observation deck, native plants, all designed professionally and legally. Homeowners loved it. Kids played there every evening. Seniors walked the trails peacefully. The community got their park, just not where Karen demanded it. Karen, meanwhile, avoided the area entirely. Her influence collapsed. She eventually resigned as HOA president, citing stress and community misunderstanding. Everyone knew the truth. She lost the battle she started. As for me, I stood on the finished trail overlooking the neighborhood one quiet evening, smiling. Karen wanted a park so badly, so I turned her neighborhood into one instead. If you enjoyed watching how I turned the tables on Karen and the HOA, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more unbelievable stories. Smash the like button if you love a good victory story, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done if someone tried taking your land?